world. My name is Nikkiesha McLeod, and you're listening to When We See Each Other, presented by Stereoactive Media. When We See Each Other is a podcast that focuses on music and art by BIPOC, queer, trans, and non-binary artists, as well as artists I've met and known for some time. This week, we're interviewing queer artist and only child. First, we'll play Love Some More off of their album, Prepare the Body, and then jump right into the interview. Here we go.
Forgive me, I'm not worthy, I lied to you. You don't deserve me, I was hurting, I wanted to feel bigger than I do. So it's time that I come by and mend what I've done to the both of us. Oh, you can't save me. This isn't healthy. I'm trying to feel reborn. I wasn't careful, needed to feel special, but I've got so much more work to do. A day will come when I'm not scared, but now I'm breaking free from all I've said. I know that too much has happened, which is why I cannot sleep at night. I know that too much has happened. I feel like someone else. It isn't right. I'm not asking to be lifted up, but would you please lend me your grace? There's more reasons to give up, but put a smile up on your face and try to love some more.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I wanted to first start with a little background. I wanted to know, what inspired you to first start making music?
I mean, that's such a hard question, but I have always wanted to make music ever since I was very young. I grew up singing in the church, and I was always humming melodies and jotting things down. So I don't even know where it really began. It kind of just took over my mind without me knowing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So do you remember at all the first song you ever wrote?
I do. There was a song, I was about 10 years old. My parents had gifted me a karaoke machine, and it was about Rocket Power, this show that I was obsessed with growing up. And I just sang an alternative version of the theme song, and wrote it.
Okay, I have no idea what this show is about. What is it the show? Is it a cartoon or what
It
is
was
it?
a cartoon on Nickelodeon, I believe. Yeah, and it was just about three friends who were obsessed with surfing and rollerblading and skateboarding, doing like a lot of extreme sports
So
types of
you
things.
basically rewrote the theme song for that?
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
God, that's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Wow. So you went to school for dance? Was dance like your first love, or was it just like a combination of both things, like music and dance, that they both came together?
Yeah, well, I didn't go to school for dance. I studied dance after I actually studied film in school,
Oh,
university, but after I was always dancing. I grew up dancing and I did
okay.
a lot of sort of like dance camps and like a lot of like performance-based extracurriculars, if you will, and
Yeah.
stopped doing that at a certain time when I moved out of my parents' house and moved to New York, and
Okay.
then continued to dance just like with taking classes. And then it wasn't until I graduated till I started training with the Rod Rogers Dance Company for modern dance. But yeah, it it's hard to say because even when I was younger, I was always dancing and singing. They were both sort of in tandem with each other. So it's really hard to know which one was feeding into the other. I feel like they were kind of at the same time.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And what inspired you to go to school for film?
A lot of reasons, really. I grew up in a very sort of conservative household, meaning my parents were always very encouraging of me pursuing the arts, but also were very concerned about me supporting myself. So
Right.
I wanted to do something that was both creative and that was kind of sold to them as something that was creative, but also had sort of a sustainability aspect. So I decided to do that. And then there was also just other reasons where I was very uncomfortable being uh, in front of the camera. So I figured, why don't I get behind it
Hmm.
and figure this out before sort of stepping into that role if I felt like I wanted to.
So multifaceted. I love it. I just
Yeah.
love it. It's
Yeah.
like you're getting not only the visual, but you're also getting the sound. You're just getting everything. That's amazing. I love it. So your stage name is An Only Child. Is that because you are an only child, or is there a
Yes.
deeper meaning to
No,
it?
I'm an only child. I don't have like five brothers or anything. No, I'm an only child, and it was inspired from. I had this when I was make starting to think about the project itself. I was very I'm very private and very hesitant to sort of like use my birth name as my sort of stage name. So I wanted something that was sort of hidden from me, but still very connected. And I thought that an only child was perfect since I am an only child, and it sort of took on multiple meanings. Like when you think of an only child, there's a lot of references that come up for people, and I thought that that was really interesting. So.
Yeah, 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 totally, totally. So your album, Prepare the Body, is so beautiful. It's so rich. It's just like it's very contemplative and it's so generous in sound. What was your intention in creating such an album?
I just wanted to fully put myself out there. I'm very private, so I had a lot of songs and lyrics that I was afraid to sort of delve into and release, and I thought that for my first album I wanted to just like put it all out there and not sort of judge myself and just see how it was received. And so I think my main intention was just to sort of bare my soul and like let go of all the things that I was sort of holding on to. And that was pretty much my main intention. There was a lot leading up to it where I I wasn't singing for a while before recording the record.
Mhm.
So it was very much when I was able to sing, because I had vocal cord surgery before the record
Oh, wow.
was
Oh my
recorded. Yeah.
god.
Yeah. So I was on voice rest for a long time. So I
Yeah.
think it was finally getting down to recording, I just wanted to sing as much as I could and use all the sort of colors of my voice because I hadn't been using it for such a long time. So it
Yeah.
felt really important to just really put everything out.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. And it's also very scary that you went through a vocal cord surgery.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very terrifying. What's behind the name Prepare the Body? Because it's just like it seems so philosophical. It was just like preparing the body for what exactly?
When I first recorded the album, it was before COVID started. It
Mhm.
was in 2019, and I was actually going to name the record after one of the tracks, I Don't Go Out. And
Okay.
then once COVID hit, I thought that because at first I thought it was very funny because if my friends who know me know that I don't really go out that much. So I thought it was a funny sort of nod to my friends and an inside joke that people could sort of relate to. But then once COVID hit, it was not really funny anymore to name the album I Don't Go Out. And I also didn't want it to be considered something that was like a COVID album because I did all the material was written before COVID anyway. So
Mhm.
I then was thinking about, at the time, I was thinking about leading up to recording how much I was not singing because of the vocal cord surgery and how much preparation I was doing for the surgery, for after the surgery. And then when the record was finished, I was dancing in a show and I ruptured my Achilles tendon.
Oh my
And
god.
and
Wow.
that was really terrible. And I had to go through another surgery. So there was just like a lot of things where I had to really rely on my body and prepare my body for a big change and also prepare my body to become healthy again. And so I was thinking a lot about that, but then also within that work physically, I did a lot of mental work. So I was like, prepare your body mentally, prepare the body. I love baths. There's a song called Bath. So it's prepare your body for sleep, for rest, for pleasure, for revolution. It takes on multiple meanings, but that's really behind that
Right,
title.
right. And it seems sort of like healing in a sense, prepare your body for healing,
Mhm.
during a tumultuous, like, moment and time. So, yeah, that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. One of the amazing things that I found about each of the songs is that it can be translated into dance. And maybe I'm making too much of this, but I felt like dancing when I listened to each of the songs. Or better yet, it can be accentuated with dance. Was that intentional? Were you thinking about dance when you were writing the album?
No, I wasn't thinking about dance at all, and that makes me so happy that it makes you want to dance. I was actually afraid that it was too pensive and that it was just
Really?
something. It was just my own. I had my own thing about like maybe it should be more of a dance record, and so
Right.
I was afraid that all the subjects that I went into with the album were just too pensive for anyone to really move their body to. That it was like something that you had to be very still for. So I wasn't thinking about dance at all. I was just sort of thinking about what the song meant to me. And each song is like referencing a very specific part of my life. So it was really about how is that going to be reflected the most without thinking about movement. But then I guess somehow dance slipped its way in, which it always
Right.
does for me. But yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, with that said, as you said, like dance somewhat comes into your music. When you create songs, do you create them, with the intention of being transported into dance and or vice versa, or something like you're, working on a dance move and you hear the rhythm and then you suddenly start to like write a song or something. Is it like that?
It can be. I think a good example was indoor games. I
Mhm.
remember working with my co-producer Crow. We There was something about the sounds that we were not. We had that was the song that was like gave us the most work. Like we were just so there. That song was so old. I wrote it back in like 2014 or 15,
Mhm.
and it had many versions, and so it had just another life. And there was something about the sounds that weren't working. And then I said this thing because I started thinking about the melody and I was moving a little bit. And I said to Crow that it needed to feel pelvic. And that one word sort of like ignited everything else for us. And so we were just holding on to like the pelvis, and like it had to be like pelvic. And that was the sort of motion that I kept thinking about when trying to like lock down the certain sounds, especially with the drum and the guitar.
Wow. So do you have a particular ritual that you or process that you follow when creating? Like any dance choreography or songs? Is there a particular ritual that you follow?
I don't know if there's a ritual. I think when writing a majority of the album of Prepare the Body was written like after the bath,
Okay.
after I'd taken a bath. So I think even though I wasn't like planning on doing it, I think there's something about me getting into a bath and then relaxing. And then it just like puts me into this very comfortable, sort of childlike state and allows me to sort of access more lyrics and different melodies. And so I think whenever I really feel stressed about writing, I stop what I'm doing and I just take a bath. And then somehow it just comes after that process. And then unfortunately, it happens at like really late at night. So then when I'm trying to go to bed, I'm like automatically awake then. And then I like start dancing and like figuring out different ways to like sort of move along with like a melody. But yeah, I think the bath is like the main entry point.
That just kind of speaks to the fact that a lot of the things that we see as mundane in life is also kind of like a fuel for our
Mhm.
energy, for our like artistic sensibilities. That is just like that's just amazing. I love that. Um, so I know the album came out in December of last year, and you talked a little bit about the recording process, how it began in 2019. So how was that process like for you? You know, how long did it take? I don't know when exactly you injured your Achilles. How would you navigate all of this happening?
I got a really amazing opportunity from Pioneer Works, which is this arts and science center in
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn and Red Hook in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and they offered me an opportunity to do their music residency where they have a recording studio and you have access to it for a little bit like a month. And then so I was recording every day with my co-producer Crow for a month in October of 2019. And we basically, in that month, we knew that we couldn't get everything done in that amount of time because it was actually pretty short, but we knew that we just wanted to record as much as possible. So we did just as many sketches of the tracks as we could. And then just to lock down sort of as many tracks. And then we were going to whittle it down and then maybe do some recording elsewhere. And then in November and December, we recorded at another studio in Gowanus, Brooklyn at Concrete Sound. And so that was, I would say the recording process was like the whole month of October, from October 1st to 31st. And then we took a little bit of a break because it was a lot of straight singing. And then December of 2019, we had like 3 or 4 weeks before Christmas, 3 weeks before Christmas, and we just finished out the rest of the recording there. And then before COVID hit, we started doing the mixing process in January of 2020. And then we started doing a little bit of shows. And then I did a show for a dance project that was out in Los Angeles, here in Los Angeles. And that's when I ruptured my Achilles, right when we were doing the mixing process. And then 2 weeks after that, COVID hit. So it was a pretty intense and concentrated period of time and a really dynamic because like a lot of things happened, but
Right.
somehow, I don't know, it was just I had very much like tunnel vision of like trying to get the record done because we had the residency program, and then I knew that there were going to be other shows coming up in the 2020, but then COVID hit and then all those shows ended, and then also I was injured.
Right.
So it was a lot to deal with, but it was really, really, in hindsight, I can't believe we did it, but it was really rewarding.
Yeah. And are you all healed? Like, um,
I am, yeah, thankfully. I had surgery in right before COVID hit and then had my cast for 6 weeks and then did my 9 weeks of physical therapy after that. And then I've just been still doing some exercises here and there. So I'm about like 85, 90% healed. Thank the Lord.
Yeah, that's definitely very scary. And also I noticed like there are different videos for the different songs, for some songs on the album. I know you are in some of those videos, but did you direct any of them?
I directed all of them.
You
Yeah.
directed all of them. How did you translate what you were envisioning from the music into the camera?
Because I went to film school, I feel like when I'm writing, I think about cinematography.
Okay.
And so there's something about the music that feels very like, I don't know, I had a lot of references to cinema when I was writing, and I thought about different films that inspired me when even making the record, and just or having visuals for like how I saw a scenario playing out. For instance, like Pick Me Up After Work, I I always thought of this desire. I had this image in my head. It was also I had a daydream when I was working at I used to work in advertising, and I and I had a daydream about like a hot guy picking me up after work, like in his pickup truck or a motorcycle, and we just driving off into the sunset, like along the West Side Highway where I was working. And I knew that when I had that fantasy, when I first even started writing the song, that like that had to be somehow part of like the video, because it just made sense. So when coming up with those videos, I knew that I had a limited budget, so I couldn't afford to, have the sort of following us down the West Side Highway. But, I was like, can we get a pickup truck? And can we figure out how to like put the camera on the edge of the truck? And then I'm just like sort of in my fantasy world daydreaming about being whisked away out of my awful office job. So that was how that happened. And then I had images of I'm really upset. I said I'm like skating. So I was obsessed with like the skate park that was near my house. And there was something about the the sort of dance of like trying to be in control with these trying to be in control when you're like skating. It's you're trying to keep the momentum, trying to keep the balance, and yet there's these moments where you lose control off like completely. So I felt that it would be really interesting to play with that with still the where I'm feeling about like wanting to be in control, but I feel out of control. So I wanted to do that video where I was just had my friend dance very controlled in a skate park.
I love it. I just do. So, this is like your first debut album. Did you have an EP previously? How does this album differ from that previous work?
Yeah, I think the EP was I didn't know anything that I was doing at the time. I just knew that I wanted to sing, and I wanted to sort of experiment with figuring out my sound. And I think the way that it really differs is my approach to singing is completely different now,
Mm.
especially after because I had surgery. So there was that sort of rehabilitation time where I had to relearn how to sing. So I think that learning how to use my voice differently to avoid injury. And then I think the other difference is I was just so much younger, and my life was I had very specific uh, points of reference for writing. And I think I wanted to write from a more dreamy place, a more celebratory place, a more place of desire. Whereas I think that first EP was really just like sifting through like a lot of pain and a lot of like dark periods in my life. So I think the difference is like sort of playing with the light and the dark in this record.
And how has it been being queer in both of the dance world and also the music industry?
I mean, it's been what it is. I don't have a reference for I don't know the difference, but I would say in the dance world, it's been pretty rewarding, fulfilling, especially where I have found myself in sort of the community of dancers that I am around. And I think, I mean, there's so many queer dancers that it's just almost not. It's interesting. It's talked about, but it's not talked about because there is so many queer dancers, but then there are so many projects in terms of dance that don't really honor um, gender expression, or they sort of are trying to honor gender expression, but they still get sort of pigeonholed into sort of ideas of what that is for them, or the choreographer, the writer. So yeah, I think it's been really, but at the same time, I've had really great experiences as a queer dancer and working with queer directors, understanding how queer dance, I think there's a really nice freedom in being a queer dancer because you don't get harped on what is masculine and what is feminine, because it is just a body and we actually hold both of those qualities no matter who you are. And so I think there's a lot of just freedom in knowing that, like, I don't need to feel necessarily one way or the other. It just, you're just following your instincts and letting your body do the work and then the talking. And once you just rely on that, all of the sort of judgments of what society feels that you should be kind of wash away. It is difficult, trying to, there's some instances where it's very difficult, obviously, because of we have a lot of way to go as a society. But I think it's been really rewarding in terms of being a queer musician. I don't know the difference. I've also just started, so I don't know really how to sort of answer that.
Fair enough. And how does being Black and queer influence your art, whether it's, dance or, music?
I write from my experience, and my experience is through the lens of a Black queer person in America. So I just pull from everything that I have experienced, everything that I've felt, everything that I've observed, and everything that I feel that hasn't been said. And that is kind of exciting. I feel really inspired by, before, maybe to answer the previous question, is I've felt growing up, the reason why I was so reliant on maybe working in film was because I was afraid of my queerness and I was afraid of how it was going to be perceived because of the times that we lived in. But then as I got older and came into my own, I realized that it was such an asset, because there's only my experience, and that everybody's queer experience is so unique, and also everyone's experience as a Black person in this country is so unique. So I wanted to really honor mine, because I do feel that I had a specific point of view, and just stepping into that without feeling like I needed to be afraid or scared was really important for me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you've seen Lil Nas X. I probably have seen his
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
Everyone has seen that video.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? Like, what?
I feel so happy for Lil Nas X, and I feel so happy for the the little child in me that did not see that when I was younger. When I mean, even it's something that I still even think of today as an artist. How to talk about my sexuality, because I think it's really beautiful to see Little Nas X do it, because I mean, the kids are all right. I mean, there's been so many ways in which, queer artists have had to sort of hide their queerness in metaphor, or be whatever, in terms of just like making it palatable. But I loved the unabashed like
Yeah.
way that Little Nas X just released that. And I thought it was just so inspiring. And I mean, that pole scene, yeah.
Yes. 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 I mean, the entire thing is just like incredible. The way that he basically shift the gaze around, and in the
Hmm.
sense of like, oh well, you think I'm gonna go to hell? Well, okay, I'm gonna go to hell,
Hmm.
and I'm gonna make hell for me. I'm gonna
Hmm.
make it a party for me and
Hmm.
enjoy it. And
Yeah.
I think that, and I really think that's why it's so controversial, because people don't really want to believe that you
Hmm.
can do that. So yeah, I love it. I really love it.
Me too.
Anyway, back to business. Um, can you talk about how the pandemic has affected you both personally and as an artist?
personally, it has, I mean, it's done a host of things, but I mean,
Right.
personally, it has changed my relationship to work, to my relationship to what I say yes to, what I say no to. It has changed my relationship to rest and also my relationship to just how I identify. I think it's really hard in this capitalist world to not rely on what you do as a source of value. So then when COVID stopped, it was a really nice, or started and stopped the world. It was a really nice, terrifying, but a nice way to sort of reassess my value system and sort of understand these are the things that I do, but these are the things that are not me. And having that separation and that distinction was really important because it's really hard when we live in this world and we have to sort of be quantified by what we put in, and that are qualified by what we put in. And so that was a big thing. I think it also has made me extremely like I never went out when I was like I not never went out, but I was very not keen on going out before because I was very much about, oh, I need to like protect my rest, my body, blah 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 for dance. But now I'm just ready to go to a club and just have at it. And that is really exciting to have a new relationship to socialization because I thought it was something that was really draining before, but now it's something that is really life-giving. and and understanding how I need people and I need community and I need to be around my friends and family, and the way that which we were going that was very much about like the individual is was really emphasized during COVID because of all of the safety issues surrounding it, but knowing that we need people is like a really great reminder. And then yeah, I think as an artist, it's affected my way I think about how I want to do things, and not understanding that it's been really challenging, but it's also opened up so many different ways to think about how to make work and how to sort of work within the limitations of not having resources, money, and the luxury of travel. I think that that is a really nice way to sort of create energy and create a new way of making work. And it's also made me extremely lazy because you know when when you don't have a place to be every day, it's hard to get it's like, oh, I'll put that off till tomorrow, I'll put that off till tomorrow, and then
Yeah.
here we go, a few Netflix specials later and I still haven't done what I need to do. So yeah, it's done a lot, but it's been, although I'm so ready for it to be over, I think it was a necessary thing, obviously, not only for our physical health, but our mental.
Right. Are you gonna get the vaccine?
I have gotten my first shot.
Oh, awesome.
Yes,
Awesome.
yes.
No, the reason I brought it up is because, a lot of people have been saying that they aren't gonna get the vaccine basically, especially I don't wanna like uh I don't wanna pinpoint on black people,
Mhm.
but most of those people were black, and they have a good reason for not wanting to get the vaccine because of like, basically the history of like the government and black people. Um
Absolutely.
and yeah, so I mean, under that scare, how did you feel when you were going into it? Were you afraid at all of like even though you were gonna get it, did you fear anything at all about getting it?
I didn't, because when I saw that a majority of white people were getting it, I figured that it could be okay. I was like, if white people are getting it, then I
And
think
they're
I'll be all
not
right.
dying. That's
Yeah,
key.
I was
That's
like,
key.
well, So I was like, if white people are getting it, I think I'm good on it. But no, I wasn't really. I'm more afraid of getting COVID, and I'm more afraid of
Right. Right.
there. I've had people that I've lost this year from the virus, so I was very much in the camp of I just want it so I can have some um
Reassurance.
peace of mind and reassurance that I'm
Yeah.
not going to be contracting, and it's going to limit my spread of it if I did get it, so
Right. Right.
that was my reasoning. But I completely understand I mean, I have friends of mine who have I have neighbors of mine who have expressed that they don't want to get the vaccine, and I respect that. I obviously understand the very serious history that vaccines have been for people of color and Black people in this country. So
Yeah.
I know, but I did get my first shot.
Yeah. So we got a little off-centered, but just a little bit. How would you say your sound differs from other genre-related artists?
To me, currently, I feel that artists are in this really amazing position where, we have access to so much wonderful music, and now we're seeing the fruits of all of that accessibility and how people have so many different intersections and have so many different experiences. And with globalization comes a knowledge of just and a new way of seeing something. And so I think the music itself is, I mean, I don't think it's too different than that many other genres, in the sense that I feel like genres are now becoming so blurred that, things are being borrowed from other genres. So I think that it definitely has some of that. I think the difference is that it's really, really, really pensive. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure. I think that's up to other people to sort of make those distinctions and markers.
Distinctions.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know.
I actually, I read one of, the categories that you listed on, Bandcamp, and it was adult contemporary, and I kinda like that. I
Yeah.
do. I honestly, I feel like other people might say, "Oh, that sounds more like, listening to elevator music or something," but no, but I feel like there's a level of maturity when you say that. It's just like, "Oh, yes, this is mature music," or something, or
Well,
maybe
yeah.
or maybe it's just like, "Oh, this is very serious. You have to, basically take this and really listen to it and not just like,
It was funny. I was Before releasing the record, I played it for my one of my best friends, and that genre came to. They said, "This is adult contemporary. Like, you're giving adult contemporary here." And I thought that was really interesting because she said that it sounded very mature. So I don't know. Yeah, I think that's really nice. I definitely am not making TikTok music. Not that there's anything wrong with TikTok. I don't have the capacity. I'm not as fun. I'm pretty serious, unfortunately.
No, no, yeah, it's definitely not TikTok. Um, but I really appreciate that. I honestly appreciate that, and I feel like what you were saying about how genres are less like, you know, um, designated
Mhm.
into a particular box. Um, I feel like we're losing that aspect. And I feel, do you think like we're going to eventually be genreless in most things in the future?
I think that that's definitely what's happening. I mean, the way in which music is produced is so different now that it's like, because there's so much access to electronic ways of producing, that you're figuring out it's also there's less at stake because of the way that it is, because you don't have to, you can choose, and then you can throw things away and you can put things in, and it's really it's based on your taste and it's based on your feeling. And I think that that is something that's really cool. I think I do very much am of a old soul, so I love a band and a traditional way of making music, obviously. But I do think if you lack the resources, it's really hard to achieve that. So especially like me, I love so much music, and I feel like so many different things inspire me, that I'm very excited when something happens in a song that is from a genre that I am like, oh, that's totally not what I thought that would be, but I'm into it, and I think it's fun to go with it. And I think, the more we become a more globalized society, I think our music is going to be a little bit less compartmentalized.
And which do you prefer, performing live or studio work?
That is so hard. They I mean, they make up very different headspaces, but I would say performing live. I mean, performing live is just there because you have the energy of the audience and it doesn't have to be as precious as recording. I'm such a perfectionist, unfortunately. So it's, there can be days in the studio where it's not fun and you're being really technical. And then there's days where you just let go and you're doing backup vocals and that's really fun, but I really find that the reason why I do this is because I love feeling the feedback from the audience. And also, when I'm recording, I can't really dance that much. I have to stand still, so it's really nice to be able to be loose and not feel like I have to be in one position and just like sing. It's good to play around.
Yeah, definitely that energy that you get from the audience definitely will decide, how well you're going to perform.
Yeah.
So thinking about your influences, I'm curious. I know you're sort of new, but I wanted to know which artists you get compared to the most and whether you appreciate those comparisons. Also, is there anyone who influenced you that you think people would find surprising?
I get compared to Moses Sumney. That's what I've been hearing for a few months, which is really great because I love Moses's voice. I love Moses's work. Um, yeah, so that's really nice to be considered in good company. And I love the latest record from Moses is just so breathtaking. It's so exciting.
Yes.
Yes, I mean,
Yes.
so that's really nice to be considered. And then I think other people that I don't know if the music has been compared to that, but some people have related me to Serpent with Feet, if you're familiar. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think it's because we have similar upbringings as well. We both were raised in the church. So I think there's a lot of that. So we have that sort of gospel tone and vibrato. Um, yeah. And then in terms of, I mean, there's so many musicians that I feel like you would be surprised to hear. I mean, Mariah Carey is a big influence on me vocally. There's also a musician who is Danish, who's a pop musician actually. By the name is Mo. They're a pop musician, but they're pretty inspiring for me, or have been in the past. And then especially in my first EP. And then Bonnie Raitt, I was very inspired by Bonnie Raitt when I was recording this album. Yeah, there's so many like random or seemingly random influences for me.
Are there any Black, queer, trans, non-binary artists in your circle that you can recommend?
Yes. So my good friend Eve, if you check out Eve and Chat Noir on Instagram, they have their whole thing. That's really like she is amazing and is also a DJ and does like a lot of electronic ambient music. So highly recommend.
Eve.
Eve.
I'll definitely check her out.
Mhm.
What are your future plans? Do you have any virtual shows coming up? I know a lot of states are lowering the restrictions for venues. Are you planning on, doing any live shows? Is there any talk of any live shows?
Definitely want to do live shows. However, there's no talk of a live show just yet. I mean, Los Angeles is in the midst of trying to open back up, but I don't think venues are going to be open anytime soon. And I haven't heard anything about shows but I've been doing live performance videos, and I did do a live performance video in December of 2020, which was really exciting. And it sort of featured 3 songs off the record. And I'm going to be doing more things like that where we record live performances in sort of an outdoor isolated setting and then releasing them to the interwebs. But no, I'm open for bookings. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Are you reading anything interesting right now? that you
Yes,
can talk
Black
about?
Boy at a Time. It's an
Yes.
amazing book.
I heard about that.
Yes, Hari Ziad. Hari Ziad is also a very close friend of mine. We went to NYU together, so I'm just so proud of him. And yes, please read. That's the book that I'm reading right now. Mhm.
So I only have one last question for you. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Quentosential. That's QUENTOSSENTIAL. And I'm not super active on there, but I'm super active in the stories. But yeah, and you can find me on Bandcamp. That is an only child music at bandcamp.com, and then Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Tidal, all of the streaming platforms, and only child.
Awesome. Well,
That's me.
thank you so much, Quentin. You are amazing, just totally refreshing and a pleasure to talk to. And I wish you all the best and all the success.
Thank you very much for having me. This was really fun. Appreciate it.
So that was An Only Child, singer, songwriter, dancer, and filmmaker. They are just phenomenal, and it was such a great joy speaking with them. Definitely go check out their music. Go check out Prepare the Body. It's available on Bandcamp. It's a beautiful album. It's so rich with so much sound and layering, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah, you definitely need this in your life. I highly recommend it. Now, we're going to play a couple more tracks from the album, Prepare the Body. First up is Pick Me Up After Work, followed by Indoor Games, and finally Tread.
There's a ghost by the river. If you look close, you can see him now. There's a ghost by the river. I think he knew you in your past life. There's an illness come over. I think it hurts me to be here. You're the only one to fix it. I'm so affected, there's no escaping. Ooh, won't you calm me with it? Ooh, won't you say you'll meet me in the afternoon? I know it's early days, but I can't change my mood. So pick me up after work. Give me something to pick me up after work. I'll come out and search for you. Pick me up after work. Almighty God, you feel so good. I I didn't think you'd touch me like that, oh, but you'd do it again, even if it's a sin. I can't seem to get away from your love. But I'm scared right now. This case is filled with doubt. I know you got what it takes, so please stick around. Just show me that you love me and take me home. I'll tuck you in real good, you know, and slap that back, yeah, slap that back. Oh, slap that back, yeah, slap that back. Oh, and let your mind right on me too. I wanna make more than love with you. And don't look back, no, don't look back. Oh, don't look back, no, don't look back. Oh, I'm sick of playing all these games you got me playing. 'Cause you, the only one who sees me. Oh, I don't wanna mess around. Oh, please, you got me bowing down. You can't make no mistakes, turn this figure out. Just show me that you love me and take me home. I'll tuck you in real good, you know, and slap that back, yeah, slap that back. Oh, slap that back, yeah, slap that back. Oh, and let your mind right on me too. I wanna make more than love with you. And don't look back, no, don't look back. Oh, don't look back, no, don't look back. Oh, it's your right, babe. I'll make sure it's a real good time for you. Oh, what can we find? Yeah. Just tell me what's inside of that mind, babe. Just show me that you love me and take me home. I'll tuck you in real good, you know, and slap that back, yeah, slap that back. Oh, slap that back, yeah, slap that back. Oh, and let your mind right on me too. I wanna make more than love with you. And don't look back, no, don't look back. Oh, don't look back, no, don't look back. Oh. I tend to keep you from my heart, treading deep in the dark. Don't let your arms go slow. You try to learn and know my heart's been lost in longing, drifted thoughts. Don't let your bones grow cold. You spoil my meals, stir up my fears, drinking in my own doubts. Oh, oh, all the time I made you stop. Swiftly touch that moving spot. Just let your body flow. The evening lights will make it soft. No other way to hold this off. Your breath will lift you home. I enjoy your cries, spit out my lies, serving up excessive sounds. Oh. Work to know your own mind. Please bring me out my mind. Just lean it past the road and get away from your own kind. The others left with mighty fine. Your breath will lead you home. Life can be wild and sure to shine, planting from this very ground. Oh.
Thanks for listening to When We See Each Other. I'm your host, Nikkiesha McLeod. This show is produced and edited by Jeremiah McVay. If you like what you hear in this show, please rate and review it in Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else that allows that. And please follow us wherever you happen to listen to podcasts. Doing so helps us to expand our audience and is much appreciated. You can find more information about the show at stereoactivemedia.com/whenweseeeachother. And you can get in touch with us at stereoactivemedia@gmail.com. Talk to you later.
This podcast is produced by Stereoactive Media.